There's a new historical drama on the BBC, and because I'm a bit of a history nerd, I've started watching it. It's set in 1066, and for anyone watching outside of the UK, that year was pivotal in changing the face of England and what would go on to become the United Kingdom. There were two major battles, stay awake at the back: the Battle of Stamford Bridge and the Battle of Hastings. The Battle of Stamford Bridge was between the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons. The Battle of Hastings was between the Anglo-Saxons and the Normans. We have three main protagonists. For the Vikings, King Harold Hardrada. For the Anglo-Saxons, Harold Godwin's son, also a king. And for the Normans, a duke known as William the Bastard, who went on to become William the Conqueror. The Battle of Stamford Bridge effectively ended any form of Viking rule in England. They raided a few more times, but there were never any big assaults on this island from the Vikings after that. The Battle of Hastings ended Anglo-Saxon rule. The Normans moved their own people in and effectively replaced the English nobility. So I was looking forward to this drama, but there is one issue. Like I said, it's been made by the BBC, so it's absolute bollocks, because the Beeb are more obsessed with ticking boxes and hitting diversity targets than any form of historical accuracy. So let's take a look at a typical Anglo-Saxon soldier according to the BBC. Right, I'm not sure that's entirely accurate, because in the 11th century, England wasn't the cultural melting pot that it is today. In fact, we can guarantee there were no black soldiers at the Battle of Hastings, because if there had been, they'd be on the Bayeux Tapestry. For anyone who doesn't know, the Bayeux Tapestry, first of all, isn't a tapestry, it's an embroidery. It's a piece of Romanesque style art, commissioned shortly after William became King of England. It's over 200 feet long and depicts events from the death of King Edward the Confessor up until the crowning of King William the Conqueror. Now, given that on this piece of artwork, it's depicted that some of the soldiers have got their dicks out, I'm fairly certain that if scholars of the time made note on which gentlemen on the battlefield had their love yoghurt cannons out, they would have also noted if some of the protagonists had been different colours. And it's not just the extras in King and Conqueror, they're also taking liberties with people we know quite a lot about. This is meant to be Morcar, Earl of Northumbria, one of the most powerful noblemen in England at the time, but the BBC are making out he didn't have white European heritage. We know that he did. This is a historical drama. Don't just make shit up. It's safe to say that at the two major battles of 1066, it was a group of white Vikings who lost the battle to a group of white Anglo-Saxons, and that group then marched down England to get defeated by a group of white Normans. And of course the name Norman comes from Northmen. The Normans were effectively Vikings who were fucking good at making castles. Very good, most of them are still standing. Also in the series, they reenact the Battle of Stamford Bridge, but they don't include the fucking bridge. That was a pivotal point of the whole battle, including the legend, which is probably apocryphal, of one Viking berserker with an axe holding back the entire Saxon army. I guess they would have included that, but they couldn't get Samuel L. Jackson to play the Viking. But why does it matter? Well, personally, I think it matters because it insults the intelligence of the audience, regardless of their skin colour. We have a rough idea on what medieval England looked like, and it didn't look like that. It would be like making a series about Shaka Zulu and casting Harry Styles in the lead role, or a series on Chinggis Khan where the Mongol Emperor was played by Eddie Redmayne. And before anyone gets in the fucking comments, it is Chinggis. Genghis was a mistranslation by an 18th century French writer. Why do I know this shit? It's insulting to European history and insulting to anyone of African ancestry, because it's blatant tokenism, it's box ticking, it doesn't mean anything. In effect, the BBC are going, we need to include you in European history because you don't have your own. But now we've met all our targets, we can justify the fucking licence fee. I think it's vile, shoehorning people and changing history, because surely there must be great stories of African and Asian warrior kings and emperors who deserve to have their stories told. It's just that if the BBC does it, they'll set it in England. If they do a follow-up series about the Doomsday Book, I'm guessing that England in 1086 will be portrayed to have a mosque at the end of every street, an Indian takeaway, and a gay Chinese couple worried about climate change. And the Doomsday Book itself will probably be an iPad. But it's not the first time something like this has happened. A couple of years ago, there was the Netflix documentary series, Cleopatra, that insisted that not only was Queen Cleopatra some sort of martial arts expert, but also that she was black, and we know Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek. Channel 5 in recent years said that Anne Boleyn was black. She wasn't. If need be, we can dig her up. But for me, the daftest one, even dafter than King and Conqueror, was a series on Amazon called My Lady Jane, which, to be fair, wasn't meant to be historically accurate. It was imagining what would have happened if Lady Jane Grey hadn't been beheaded. Because in that, King Henry VI of England was a gay black man in a wheelchair. Also, when the film Dunkirk was released, people complained it wasn't diverse enough. Really, Dunkirk, which we know, because we've got footage of it, was one group of young white men shooting at another group of young white men. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you can leave a like, a comment, or share the video, that really helps the algorithm. If you would like to support me in making these videos, and thank you to everyone who's done so already, there are links in the description to my Patreon and to buy me a coffee, and as ever, thanks for watching. The Normans were Vikings who were very good at making castles, including the Tower of London. That was commissioned by William the Conqueror. Also, it's when the language changed, because a lot of the Normans couldn't speak Old English, so that's when we start getting French words added to the language. Fuck me, you're boring, Dan. So, they reenacted the Battle of Stamford Bridge, but forgot to include the fucking bridge, which was the pivotal point of the whole... Fucking hell, I'm turning it to David Starkey. And the thing is, we've seen these things done in the past, and now they're horrendous to look back on. The whole race-swapping thing. When John Wayne played, well, then Genghis Khan, with all the prosthetic makeup, and Sean Connery in You Only Live Twice, who apparently looked Japanese. So that was a brief history of the Norman conquests with Disgruntled Danny. If you'd like to... fuck it. So, that was a brief history of the Norman conquests with Disgruntled Danny. If you'd like to do more, just listen to podcasts like I do.